To hear the full episode, become a patron at patreon.com/deathpanelpod.
Hey everyone, Artie here. And welcome to All Care for All People, a special limited series from Death Panel that we've been quietly working on in the past few months. Over the next few weeks, we're going to be presenting a series of interviews with people engaged in mutual aid survival programs, working across a variety of tactics, locations, and organizational structures, who are each stepping in different ways to provide care where it is needed, care where it is disallowed, where it is criminalized, and in the pockets of state abandonment on which our political economy thrives and in conditions that have become only more dire under the thumb of a second Trump administration. A few things about this series. First, this is an attempt to highlight the sheer proliferation of survival work and mutual aid projects happening right now, a series in the form of more or less oral histories intended to show not only just how much is happening, but how eminently possible and necessary it is to start doing this work, or something like it, wherever you are. But we also want to be clear that these interviews offer only the smallest glimpse of political activity happening right now. First, because we chose to focus on speaking with projects oriented around care work or health in a broad sense, like free clinics, harm reduction, street medics, and more. And second, because we've also focused on projects that already have some form of public presence. There's a lot of work happening out there that is happening very quietly by necessity, where added attention to the work being done would be antithetical to the perpetuation of those projects. That also extends to the subjects that we did interview. You'll notice that we've taken a lighter touch to the editing on these recordings. They're more straight oral history recordings than the typical Death Panel episode. They are edited, however. In each case, we've removed anything the organizers have requested us to keep off the record. You'll hear the occasional beep, for example, when proper nouns were used that had to be redacted, and in some cases, brief asides will be cut. Some of the interviews are with groups that will share their names. In other cases, interviews will obscure even the specific name and location of the group, and in some, the voices have been modulated to preserve anonymity. This is especially important in cases where the groups are targets of the state, even if what they're involved in on a day-to-day basis is as simple as keeping their neighbors fed. Many of you will also notice the title of the series shares its name with the book Bea and I are currently working on, also called All Care for All People. That's intentional, as in many ways this series serves as a precursor to the book that we're currently in the middle of writing. So this series also offers, in a very direct way, access to some of the background research for All Care for All People that we're currently working through. And we hope that to have these interviews available into the future will mean that these can have their own effects and their own impact independent of the book itself. As a final note, these will certainly be unlocked in the future in some form. For now, consider these to be early access for patrons while we're taking the time to work on the book. Having these in the patron feed is also going to allow us to more quickly address any information that might need to be additionally redacted at the request of organizers before these are fully public. With all that said, however, please, obviously, feel free to share these episodes, download and share them, with any friends who might need to hear them, or especially with people that you organize with. Because as a series of special episodes within Death Panel, and on the occasion of writing our book, All Care for All People, the best thing that these could possibly do is inspire or enrich more work like what we're trying to capture here, regardless of whether we're ready to release them out into the open internet yet or not. And for patrons listening to this, we want to, as ever, thank you for your support, not only in making this show possible, which you do, the show is entirely made possible by your support, but also thank you for supporting us in making a series like this. We've gotten so many requests over the years for something like this, really since the COVID and organizing episodes in 2023, and it's taken us a while to find the frame that would really make the series what we would want it to be as listeners ourselves. So, thank you. And I'm so excited for everyone to hear these and learn from comrades all over the next few weeks. And of course, we'll be back to our regular programming soon. With all that said, I'll leave it to Bea to set up this week's interview. More from us soon, and stay alive another week.
All right, so can you introduce yourself and say a little bit about how you're coming to this work?
Yeah, my name is Jack Schloyer, and I'm the founder of Below's Level Aid. I'm born and raised in Louisiana, very proudly so, and I think that's kind of where BSLA was rooted in, which is a deep pride from being from the South. I started out in the public health field and domestic violence. I worked as a domestic violence case manager, went in working with HIV prevention, becoming a rapid HIV STI tester kind of thing, and then went on to run one of the largest surrender exchange programs in the Gulf Coast. After leaving that position in, I believe it was 2022, the fall of 2023, I had really missed working in harm reduction. I was currently working in capital post-conviction law. And so October, or I guess August of 2023, that's where below sea level aid started.
Can you talk about below sea level aid in your own words? Describe what it is, what y'all do, what a typical week of organizing looks like.
Yeah, below sea level aid started out as purely supply distribution to the unhoused community in New Orleans. We really focused on bagged lunches, clothing, harm reduction supplies, hygiene packs, really simple stuff. And we started out doing that once a month. And that was from October 2023 until January 2024. January 2024, we very quickly learned how to start applying for grants, and purposely when we first started out and up until now, we still applied to very low stakes funding. So we don't really apply to grants that mandate reporting on what we use the funds for and are super strict on what the funds are earmarked for. So in February 2024, that's when we first received our first grant, and we received it from Gilead, which was like a huge thing for us. We were over the moon. And then from then on, we built very, very quickly. And from the beginning, I never really had a plan of what BSLA was supposed to look like. I really thought it would just be a project for myself personally, something to keep me in the harm reduction sphere, but also knowing that having a full-time harm reduction job is most likely not going to pay my bills ever. But it grew into something so much more. And now we offer HIV and STI testing, linkage to care. We have mutual aid funds for families who are in need, for sex workers. We have a reentry program, and it's turned into something so much bigger than what I ever thought possible. We don't have a typical work week because we have no full-time paid staff. We have no physical location, and we have no like super set programming. Our biggest program is most likely our mutual aid hotline. And that's where folks can anonymously text us asking for hygiene items, clothing, harm reduction supplies, easy to go snacks and meals. And they don't ever have to submit any identifiable information. They just text us the need, where they're located, and where we can drop it off to. That's probably our biggest program right now. And that's consistently ongoing throughout the week. And then twice a month, we offer rapid HIV and STI testing through a clinic in New Orleans. But other than that, our programming is super like, oh, we have funds to do this. We have the time to do this. Let's quickly pack Thanksgiving meals this month for people. Or, oh, we have capacity to do a youth program this summer. Let's do some mentorship during the weekends over the summer. It's very much like on the fly. What can we do?
And, how many folks are involved? How do you all coordinate to sort of gauge capacity or loop each other in on stuff that you're going to take on?
Yeah, it's almost always solely me when it comes to admin work. I just recently hired an admin support person, Annika, who is amazing and has really taken so much stress off of my plate. They handle a lot more of the admin and ordering and supplies things for me now. I'm still mainly programming and running the day-to-day things. So we have me, we have Annika, we have our Griffin, our director of research. He handles like mapping and research analysis for us. We have Casey, who is more of our mutual aid, like environmental person. We have Clara, who does trainings, and Max, who's a harm reduction specialist. But nobody does it full time. Nobody, like everybody has families and is working other jobs or in med school doing other side projects. Um, we don't consistently meet. We really communicate through Slack, solely divvying up tasks or just like, oh, I have time this week to do this. Do we have money to do this? It's very loosely based.
Yeah, it sounds like you all just have a practice of like staying in connection and with each other and checking in when you can. Can you talk a little bit about Griffin's role? You mentioned mapping, and I'm curious what you mean by that.
Yeah, Griffin is insanely talented. He's gonna kill me for butchering this, but he focuses on GIS, which if I remember correctly, it's geographic information systems. So he takes a bunch of data and compiles that into maps or like readable formats. He recently did a map that was like very sobering. He took overlays of the greater New Orleans area of where Hurricane Katrina impacted the most, and then ran an overlay over that map of the current overdose data in our neighborhoods. And it basically exactly lined up to the neighborhoods that Katrina impacted the most. That's one of my favorite things he's done recently. But he also just like created an abstract in a conference where he placed third at in Lafayette. And it was based around like our mutual aid efforts and how geographic information systems kind of build up that work.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really interesting sort of part of this project that is not something that's really like incorporated in a lot of projects that I'm talking to. How do you all use this mapping that Griffin does?
I'm so not the most qualified person to talk about this. He solely handles all of this nerdy stuff himself. What we did in the beginning was that we have a makeshift, like, former newspaper stand that now holds harm reduction supplies at one of the local cafes slash comedy clubs in New Orleans. It's called Sports Drink. And what he did was that he took where that box was located, created a map of it, and then he structured out the reach we're able to get for people who can walk within a 5-mile radius, or can bike, or can drive. And it shows like how we're able to impact different parts of Louisiana solely based off of where this harm reduction box is.
Fascinating.
To hear the full episode, become a patron at patreon.com/deathpanelpod.